Hello and welcome once again to the Waters and Stanton video channel. Thank you for joining me. If you're a newcomer to the channel, well, welcome, and don't forget to press the subscribe button because that will alert you when we publish new videos. You know, quite a few months ago, maybe almost a year now, we were appointed for as the distributors for a range of transceivers, QRP transceivers from Russia. Lab 599 appointed us to distribute the TX500, and it's been very successful. I mean, I think we're generally well known for work in the low power market, and so that's why Lab 599 appointed us. Well, the TX500 has sold extremely well. It's very rugged. You can put it out in the rain. I did a video showing myself pouring water over it from a watering can, and then I put it out in the rain. And it was fine. It's totally waterproof. It's very rugged, very small, very thin. Well, we've now been appointed by another low power transceiver distributor, but this time from China. Xiegu, which is not a completely new name to you, I'm sure, have been making low power transceivers for quite a while now. But they've asked us to be a distributor in the UK for their equipment. Now that means to say that you can buy it off the shelf, and it means to say that you've got a backup warranty rather than having to worry what happens if it goes wrong. So we're more than happy to be the distributor for the UK for Xiegu transceivers. Very excited indeed. It makes a nice complement to the more rugged TX59 transceivers, but the Xiegu range is not intended to be put out in the rain, but it is intended to be used by the ham radio operator as a portable transceiver. It's very cost effective, it's very nicely made, it's very comprehensive, and I've got one here that's been sent to me to have a look at. Now, it's not a new model, it's an established model. It's the Xiegu 5105, and as fives in the title might suggest, it's a 5-watt transceiver, but it covers the entire HF bands. It covers 160 meters through to 6 meters. So let's take a brief look at this transceiver. This is the X5105 QRP transceiver. I'll press this button here, it'll all light up. It's nicely illuminated, it's got a nice screen, it's quite easy to read actually, which is important for me because my eyesight's not quite as good as what it used to be. I like the idea that all the buttons light up as well. Front panel size, it's probably, in terms of acreage, it's probably very similar to the IC705. It's certainly a lot slimmer, or it's not so deep as the IC705. You've got a BNC connector there, and it's quite chunky actually, it's quite heavy. It weighs just under 1 kilo, so it's not the sort of thing that you're going to put in your pocket and not know that it's there. In fact, you might have trouble in putting it in your pocket. It's quite a size. Not nearly as compact as the Ellicraft KX2 is, and certainly not as slim as the TX500. I would say this is at least twice as thick as the TX500. But front panel acreage wise, it's not too dissimilar. So let's have a closer look at this radio. Now I've said it's just under 1 kilo in weight. So in millimeters we've got approximately 170. It's around about 90 millimeters high, and it's about 50 millimeters deep. So it's a bit of a chunk, but this, you've got to bear in mind, of course, that this is also the heatsink. There's a heatsink there, so it does dissipate the heat, and it dissipates the heat very well, actually. This is more than adequate. It never got more than just warm, really, when I was operating, and I operated CW as well as SSB. I do like the way it lights up. I like that not only have we got a display there, which is back illuminated, of course, but we've also got all these buttons here that are back illuminated, so in poor light it makes it very easy to operate. There's more buttons on the top there, and they're not illuminated. That's the band change buttons there. goes through the ham bands. You can actually change it in the menu to go through broadcast bands, but by default it goes up and down through the ham band. So you press left or right depending on whether you go up or down the ham bands. And then on here you've got two controls for volume. There's no volume control there apart from these buttons, but if you hold those buttons in, it's continuous, so it's quite handy. And I suppose that really and truly it does avoid knobs being damaged and so forth. And then there's another button here which is quite useful. It's the PTT button, but it's a lock-in PTT button. You can press that in, transmit, and then release it again. Of course, you've got PT obviously on the microphone. Now, apart from buttons, the only movable control on this is this VFO control here, which is also used when you're inputting data on the menu items. It's not a free running VFO, it's I think you call it a photo optic control. There's a slight click. It's not resistant at all to the touch, you just feel it clicking as you go around. So the tuning goes in steps, and that's not a problem at all. And in fact, because there's a slight click there, it means to say that you're not going to nudge it accidentally. But it's quite easy to rotate, so I didn't find that a problem at all. Now, because this is a block, for normal operation you want to tilt it like that, and that gives you a better view of the screen anyway. Well, fortunately, on the back here are a couple of legs. They extend out, and that gives you a nice tilt. You can see there, it's a nice tilt stand, and well, there we are, it's the right angle to operate. Like most of these QRP transceivers, it's a BNC connector there, so if you use PL259 you'll need an adapter, but that's not a real problem. There's an IF output there. It doesn't say what the IF output is. The design actually has got three IF stages. It's got 70 megs, 10 megs and 450 kilohertz, give or take. So I'm not sure whether that is a 10.7 meg or whatever it is IF output, or whether it's a 455 output. It doesn't actually make it clear in the handbook. Below that you've got a headphone socket, and then you've got the DC input socket there. The DC input socket, by the way, is the same as ICOM. So if you've got any ICOM DC leads for your 705 or similar, it should go straight in there. I found that the 705 lead goes straight in there. Now, if we look at the other end, we've got a multi-way DIN accessory socket. We've got a stereo socket there for the Morse key. We've got an ATU socket there, which is designed to trigger an external ATU. So whether they've got anything up their sleeves regarding external ATUs, I don't know, but anyway, it's labelled ATU. And then at the bottom there, we've got a comms port. They supply a lead with it. That's the USB lead that they supply. That goes in the comms port, and obviously USB goes in your computer. Mainly, they make the point that this is for updating firmware, so that's quite handy to have the right connection there. And then at the bottom there, you've got a modular socket for the microphone. The back of the transceiver is plain. You can't get into it unless you take the screws out. The battery is in there. You can't get at it. You don't really need to get at it, because when you connect your power supply to the DC socket, it will automatically charge the battery at the same time. You can actually switch that feature off so that you're running off an external source only if you didn't want to deplete your battery. But the battery, by the way, is 3.8 amp hours, which I think is more than enough for portable operation. They're a bit vague about the current drawn. Basically, it's around about 300 milliamps on receive, and I think on transmit it's around about, averages around about 1 amp or so, 1.5 amps. So that should give you more than enough for a day's use. Let's now take a look at the basic way that this transceiver works. I've already mentioned on the top there you've got two buttons to move up and down the ham radio bands, and on the left hand side, the top there, you've got the volume control up and down and a PTT. I've mentioned the main tuning control. In order to change the speed or rate of tuning, you simply move the arrows there to position the tuning dial along the main digital display. And if I move it further to the right, we get slower tuning because we're tuning 10 Hertz. In actual fact, you can go down to 1 Hertz. So really and truly, when you're right over there, you can hardly hear the signal change at all. So you've got great flexibility to nip around the band. If you want to move quickly, you just go up there. Move more slowly, you go there. So that works pretty well. Mode button is there, and the only confusing thing is that if you hold that mode button in for more than about a second or 2 seconds, you actually then work split between the two VFOs A and B. I didn't realise that, and it took me some while before I realised I got myself into a situation where when I transmitted I was on a different frequency. And I realised that this button here has 2 functions. It changes the modes, but it also, if you hold it in, has another function, a split operation. One thing I should perhaps mention is regards to the display. You can go into the main menu, which you achieve by holding that button down, and you can change the screen brightness and the contrast and so forth, and 1 or 2 other features. Not too much in that main menu, quite surprisingly. There's only about 14 items, and come out of that by just pressing that exit button there. But you can also change the screen brightness by quickly tapping the lock button. Now, in its complete sort of off position, it's quite handy. If you operate this radio in sunlight, you get quite a good display with the backlit display switched off. And then we go back to the brightest setting again. Now, for normal operation, you will use this bottom menu line, which is very similar actually to the way that Lab 599 have implemented it on their TX500. And if you press this menu button just briefly, you cycle through the various features. And there's features there for CW, for phone operation. You can adjust the RF gain, selectivity, compression, etc. They're all there. Some of these buttons have another sub-menu. If you hold it in, you go to a sub-menu for adjusting it. And any level adjustments are achieved by moving that dial. Once you've gone into the menu item to adjust it, it no longer adjusts the frequency display, it adjusts the actual level or the actual amount that you want to adjust a particular feature. Power control is adjusted by this button here, and if you press it, you'll notice that the display goes to a smaller level. You can adjust the power control by using this knob here, and it's quite good because as soon as that display is small like that, you think, oh, there's something that's going on. Press it again, you come out. Same with the RIT. If you want to adjust the RIT, you press that button there, and that display goes smaller, just to remind you that you've got the RIT on. And if you want to clear the RIT setting, you just hold it in for a second, it clears. So all in all, it's pretty intuitive. Once you've sussed out how the menu system works and the sort of the way that they've put it all together, it's pretty intuitive. And as I say, you can select the items you want on these buttons down there. If you're a phone operator, you'd select a certain panel, and if you're a CW operator, you'd select a different panel. On CW, you've got the speed and the QSK, where there's a hold, etc., etc. It's not full break-in because it's got a relay switch there. I tend to have it with like a sort of a half-second lag before it goes back to receive. That suits me fine. And you can use a straight key or a paddle key, and you can go into the CW menu and select straight or paddle key. It works quite well. You also get a multi-button microphone, which basically has a lot of controls on there, which duplicates what is on the main radio. There's a couple of function buttons there, F1 and F2, and you can program those 2 function buttons in the main transceiver so that you select something you perhaps adjust quite often, maybe CW speed or maybe volume, etc., etc. But so that's a personal thing that you can adjust. But microphone is well, it's quite comprehensive and does the job. Now, a couple of things about the radio. First of all, the basic design is basically a super heterodyne transceiver. I think I mentioned the IFs of 70 megahertz and 10 point whatever it is, and 455 kilohertz. When it gets to 455 kilohertz in the back end, I think they then use SDR technology to cope with the bandwidth, noise reduction, all the other bits and pieces at the back end of the receiver before it finally evolves and comes out the speaker. The antenna tuner, I was really impressed with that. It's got quite an amazing capability. I was actually able to operate my 80 meter end-fed antenna on 160 meters. Now, it's a horrible match. It's a terrible match, really a challenge. I'm certainly the IC7300 won't even touch it, but this quite happily matched it. So the antenna tuner has got a lot of capability, and although I haven't tried it out in the field because we're in the winter now, I have a feeling that it will feed an end-fed wire, but yet to try that. But anyway, great capability. The other interesting thing is it's got a built-in microphone. I've used that for a couple of contacts. It's rather like the KX2. You've got a close speak, sort of about that distance. But if you've just got the radio and nothing else, no microphone, you can still have a contact. So it makes it quite convenient. So now let's have a look at the radio actually in action on the air, and one or two features which I can only sort of demonstrate when it's actually live. Yes, QSL, QSL, QSL.
Okay, Roger, Roger, 100% now. I got you 100%. Germany 3, Oscar Juliet Victor, Flash QRP. You're 5 and 9 with me, 5 and 9 with me. Real report is 5 and 7, QSL.
QSL, you are 5'9", a 5'9", her name is Peter. Papa Echo Tango Echo Romeo, name's Peter, you are 5'9", QSL? I want to demonstrate how the selectivity works. It's not quite as you'd expect. You have to select DSP in the menu bar along here, and then you hold that button down and you go into the DSP, and you've got the low and the high menu buttons there. If I press this button here, I can now adjust the low, and you can hear as I advance it, we're reducing the low frequencies. I'm not sure whether you can see on the screen there, but that little point there, which is the IF passband, if you like, that's changing. I'll click that, we'll switch that off. Now press the high one. And you can hear the high frequencies going down, at least I hope you can. Again, you can see that passband changing there. And between those two points, you can adjust the selectivity. And then if we press this, let me come out of it. Now you see that at the moment the DSP is off, so we've got the fairly wide band reception. If I press the DSP, we go to the selectivity that I adjusted there. So to adjust the selectivity, you have to actually go into the DSP menu. Not immediately obvious, but once you suss it out, it does make sense. Now let's just check the noise reduction. We are in the DSP menu, but this time we go along to this button there which says NR. So I'm now going to press the noise reduction in. And that's with the noise reduction in, and that's with the noise reduction out. If I hold that button in, I can then go into the level settings, and I can adjust the DSP or the noise reduction level. That's with the DSP switched in, and that's with the DSP out. Let's demonstrate another station here. We've got noise reduction off. That's the noise reduction in. Noise reduction off. Noise reduction in. Now this is fairly light adjustment on this. You can go into this menu and make it more severe, the noise reduction, but that's the sort of factory setting. That's off. And that's in. I hope you can hear the difference here. It's quite marked actually. It seems to work quite well actually. The radio also has the ability to check VSWR. Let me just show you. So quite a handy feature to check your antenna. It's also possible to check the band activity. It's not really like a live panoramic display, but you can check the band activity. Now I should explain that during these tests you probably noticed, the eagle-eyed ones amongst you anyway, that there's no S-meter reading. Now there is a menu item, which I'll go into now, which allows you to adjust the sensitivity of the S-meter. And I have to confess that fiddling about I turned it all the way down. So if I rotate this now, you'll see the signal level come up on the S-meter. I'm not quite sure the reason for it, but I suppose it's quite a handy feature. So now if I press save and we come out of it, you'll now see that we have got an S-meter reading there. So that's the reason why you weren't seeing any S-meter readings. So that's the Xiegu X5105 transceiver. Nice little radio, I was very impressed with it. I certainly could live with it, 5 watts out, but 5 watts can travel quite a long way if the band conditions are right. It's, once you've read the manual, once you've got the hang of how it all goes together and operates, it's fine. And I'm sure that a lot of people will have a lot of enjoyment with that radio because you've got a station all in one package. And we will have that in stock sometime in January. We're shooting this video in mid-December 2021, so something for the new year. If you're interested in it and you want to put your name down for one when the first stocks arrive, then please give us a phone call. And because remember that because you're buying locally in the UK, you've got the backup of service and so forth if anything goes wrong. As usual, thank you for watching this video. I do appreciate all the comments you get and the encouragement from all over the world actually. And we're approaching Christmas now, gracious me. But there will be at least one more video, if not more than one, before we enter 2022. There we are, time flies. In the meantime, enjoy your ham radio, take care, see you in the next video.